Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. As you can see from today's title, I will be doing a DIY prom dress for all my girls going to prom this year. I know this video is really late, but I'm hoping that I can catch a few proms for June. So if you want to learn how to make this quick last minute prom dress, then keep on watching. The things that you said and do makes me want to fire up in the cut. I am using my knit block that I normally use in most of my videos, and I'm just tracing the top half of the bodice, so to the waist, and then I'm just freestyling a sweetheart neckline. So there's no specific technique to what I'm doing here. I'm just basically shaping it with a princess seam. So I'm just tracing off the sleeve, and your sleeve can be however thick you want it to be. Mine is about 2 inches, I think. So I'm just showing you how you're going to cut your fabric. So you're going to cut your fabric on the fold, and you're going to cut 2 pieces, one for the self and then one for the lining. And then your side pieces, you need 4. And then for your sleeve, you need 4 as well. So now I'm using the same pattern to trace the back piece, and I am giving an inch seam allowance for the zipper. You also want to go around your pattern pieces and give about ½ inch seam allowance so that you have sewing room. I just measured how tall the armhole is so that it can match up to the front. And I'm cutting 4 pieces for the back as well, and it's not on the fold. So once you've completed the bodice portion, you now want to move on to the skirt. I'm just tracing the skirt from the waist up until the hem, and then I've measured from my waist up until my knee. You can go higher if you choose, that's optional, but don't go any lower than the knee because you need enough room for walking. So now I'm just creating my line so I can do the spread method in order to create my mermaid bottom. So now I'm just slashing the lines up until the knee point. And once I've finished slashing it, I'm just grabbing a fresh piece of paper and I'm going to now tape that down. And I don't have any particular measurement on how much I spread. I just kind of spread it to however much it can go. So it's really up to you on how much you want to spread. Then I'm going to create the hem at the bottom. And then that is your front and your back piece. Remember, you cut the front on the fold, and then the back you cut 2 pieces for the back. So I'm quickly just showing you how I create the godé. I pretty much just get a rectangular piece of fabric and I cut it out in a triangular shape, and then I would use that triangle shape to insert into the back, and then you can also insert it to the front. It's up to you where you want to put it, and it just adds fullness to the bottom. So now I'm just demonstrating how I pin my pattern to the fabric. This is a little bit different because I'm actually using 2 different pattern pieces that I had made a while back because I didn't want to remake the whole pattern. So I'm using my skirt, and then I'm using another skirt pattern that I had from before. So if anybody's confused, that's why I'm doing that. And then I'm just cutting around that. So to make things easier, I'm just using the skirt piece that I just cut out, and I am using that to cut out my back pieces now. And remember, the skirt front you're going to cut on the fold, and then your back pieces are just going to be cut out regularly. I actually ended up cutting it on the fold, but I'm now cutting it in half so that I can have 2 pieces. So you need 2 pieces for the back, and then you need 1 piece for the front. And don't forget to add that inch seam allowance for the zipper. So now I am cutting out my bodice pieces. The middle piece that we had made for the sweetheart neckline is going to be cut on the fold, and then your side pieces you just cut just regularly. And you need 2 of those pieces, and then the side pieces you need 4, which I had already mentioned before. So here's a view of all the pieces that you'll need. And now I'm just at the sewing machine and I'm stitching up my bodice pieces. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just match right sides together and you stitch at a 1/2 inch seam allowance or whatever seam allowance you gave your pieces. So once that's done, you want to stitch your sleeves right sides together. So once I've finished stitching my sleeve, I'm just turning it inside out so that you can have a clean finish. And that's what your sleeve should look like. I'm now just going to baste my sleeves down to my lining so that when I go to stitch my self pieces to my lining, it doesn't shift on me. I'm just basting it down to the armhole area. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. And then you repeat on the other side as well. So the next step is to pin your lining pieces to your self pieces, and you want to pin at all of the seams and right in the middle point of where the neckline meets. And you want to pin around the armhole and then your back pieces. So I was just showing you where you should start stitching, so an inch away from the center back, so that you can insert your zipper before you attach the lining. And I'm just taking my time and I'm sewing all the way around the top. And then I'm gonna go around the armhole. So now I'm basically turning everything inside out and just making sure that everything is laying flat. Also, I'm going to go ahead and clip my middle point there. You also don't want to go through the stitching or it's going to create a hole. So just above the stitching is where you want to clip your fabric. So once you have that finished, you want to pin your skirt to your bodice, but you're only pinning the right sides together. You're not pinning the lining with it. So only the self pieces you would pin to the skirt. So, and the skirt, I actually did not make a lining for the skirt because it's not see-through. I only made the lining so that I can have a clean finish at my neckline. So that's the reason for the lining. I wouldn't have put a lining because it isn't see-through, but I wanted to have a cleaner finish at the top. So you just pin one layer, not both layers together. Some people do pin it with both layers, but I just feel like it gives the zipper a harder time to be inserted when you pin the two layers together. So the correct method is to just pin one layer. So now I'm just using a 1/2 inch seam allowance to stitch the skirt to the bodice. And you should also be using a stretch stitch if you're using knit fabric. So now I'm just inserting the zipper, and you should be using an inch seam allowance to insert your zipper. I'm using an invisible zipper, but you can use whatever zipper that you have handy. So I had some extra fabric left, and I decided that I wanted the skirt bottom to be a little bit more fuller. So I'm going to be adding either what they would call a godet or a fishtail. So as I showed you in the beginning, you need a rectangular piece to start out with. My piece is not rectangular because I had already tried to cut it before, so I'm just recutting it now. And I measured my center back seam where I'm going to insert the godet, and it measured to be about 34, so that's what I'm cutting that side piece where I'm going to be inserting it. And then if you want to extend it to have a longer train, you can do that towards the fold of the fabric. So I do have it on the fold, and then my side seam has to have the exact same measurement as the center back seam that I'm going to insert it into. So I hope that makes sense. And guys, I'm being really sloppy right now. I'm so sorry. My scissors weren't cutting properly, so that's why the end of that hem looks as jagged as it does. So I'm just going back in and cleaning that up. So by this point my camera was pretty much dying, so I'm just quickly showing you guys how I pin the insert. I also wanted to mention, when you guys are finishing the zipper, you just want to stitch the lining to the right side of the fabric, and then that's basically how you would finish the back of the dress. I didn't get to show it in this video, so if you guys do want to see a video on how I finish my dresses, then I can show you guys that. So here is the final product. I am super happy with how this dress turned out, and I hope that it was helpful for anybody who is looking for their last minute prom dress. I'm thinking for my next video I'm going to film a try on haul for you guys, so let me know if that's something you want to see. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.